The little girl hadn't spoken in almost 3 years, not a word, not her own name, not mama, not good night, nothing. Doctors came and went, specialists with clipboards, therapists with gentle voices and expensive hourly rates. Her mother, a woman who ran a $300 million company, had tried everything money could buy. Nothing worked. Then one Wednesday afternoon, in the corner of a recovery center's outdoor play area, 6-year-old Nora walked up to a stranger, a man she had never met, a man her mother didn't know, a maintenance worker kneeling on the ground, tying his own daughter's shoe. Nora reached out, grabbed the sleeve of his jacket, and whispered 2 words again. Daddy. Her mother heard it from across the courtyard, dropped the coffee cup she was holding, fell to her knees on the paving stones, and begged, actually begged, this stranger's daughter's father to make her baby say it one more time. But the man didn't move, didn't speak, didn't try to fix anything, because he already knew something the mother didn't. Something about the dead husband. Something about the man her company trusted most. Something about why that little girl had stopped talking in the first place. And he knew, if he said one wrong word, she'd never speak again. Thomas Beckett woke up at 4:30 in the morning. He always did, not because he needed to, because his body didn't know how to stop. 8 years on the police force will do that to a man. You wake before the sun. You listen to the house before you open your eyes. You count the small sounds, the refrigerator hum, the wind against the siding, Lily's breathing down the hall. And once you've accounted for everything, only then do you get out of bed. He pulled on his jeans in the dark, gray t-shirt, flannel over that, boots by the door, coffee in the kitchen, black, no sugar, never did. The window over the sink showed nothing but gray, that hour before dawn when the world hasn't decided what color it wants to be. Thomas drank his coffee standing up, because sitting down felt like giving up. He was 34 years old, divorced, 1 daughter, 7 years old, asleep in the room across from his. He rented a 2-bedroom on the edge of town, small, clean, not fancy, not pitiful. A place where a man was still figuring out what kind of man he was going to be. He rinsed the mug, flipped it upside down on the towel, grabbed his keys, and stopped. Lily's backpack was on the floor by the front door, unzipped, a permission slip sticking out of the top pocket. He'd forgotten to sign it last night. He knelt down, pulled it out, read it. Field trip, the Children's Museum downtown. $10. Thursday. He signed it, folded it, put it back in the pocket, zipped the bag up, and stayed there for a second, crouched on the floor, hands still on the backpack, because he remembered being 7 once, forgetting a permission slip, his own father not signing it, missing the trip, sitting in the library alone while the other kids went somewhere. Not this one, not her. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, left. The Hillside Children's Recovery Center sat on the west side of the city, a cream-colored building with a garden wall. Thomas pulled into the staff lot at 5:15. No one else was there yet. He liked it that way. He unlocked the side gate, walked to the courtyard. The swing set was the first thing he looked at every morning. Old chain, rusted, grinding when the kids pushed it. He'd ordered the parts 3 weeks ago. They'd come in yesterday. He laid out his tools on the paving stones, box wrench, pliers. The new chain coiled in a bundle. He got down on one knee, and he worked quiet, methodical, the way he did everything. There's a way a man works when he's not performing for anyone. No wasted motion, no show. Just the job and the hands and the thing getting done. Thomas worked that way because his father had. And his father's father had. And because he'd spent 8 years watching men who didn't. The sun came up while he was halfway through. Pink at first, then orange. The garden stones warmed up under his boots. Somewhere a bird started arguing with another bird about something important. He finished the first side of the chain, checked his watch. 6:40. Time to go get Lily. She was sitting up in bed when he opened her door, hair sticking in every direction, pajama top on backwards, holding the stuffed rabbit she'd slept with since she was 2. Morning, bug, dad, breakfast in 10. Can I have pancakes? It's Tuesday. Tuesdays aren't pancake days. Tuesdays are toast days. She frowned at him. Seriously. Like a judge considering a difficult case, I think we should renegotiate. I think you should brush your teeth. Dad? Bug? She laughed. That laugh 7-year-olds have, like the sound is breaking out of them whether they want it to or not. He closed her door halfway, walked back to the kitchen, pulled out the bread. And he thought about the fact that Lily had laughed. Because 2 years ago, she hadn't laughed for 6 months. Claire had left in April, packed 2 suitcases while he was at work, left a note on the kitchen counter, 4 pages, handwritten. Thomas had read it twice and then put it in a drawer and never opened it again. Lily was 5 when it happened, old enough to notice, young enough to think it was her fault. She stopped sleeping through the night, stopped eating regular meals, stopped laughing, started flinching at sudden noises, at men in the grocery store who looked like her uncle, at the sound of the front door opening at any time that wasn't the time she expected. The Thomas took her to a pediatrician. The pediatrician sent them to a specialist. The specialist sent them to the Hillside Center. 8 months of therapy, play sessions, patient women with soft voices, sand trays and crayons and slow, unflashy work that nobody ever makes movies about. By February, Lily was sleeping again. By April, exactly 1 year after Claire left, she laughed at something Thomas said about a squirrel in the parking lot. He'd pulled the car over, not because of the squirrel, because of the laugh, because it had been so long. He'd sat there for a full minute with his hands on the steering wheel and let himself just hear it. Then he'd driven to the center, walked into the director's office, asked if they were hiring for anything. Anything at all. They'd hired him for maintenance. He'd been there 14 months now. Lily came out of her room wearing mismatched socks and a sweater she'd grown 2 inches out of. Thomas didn't mention the socks. He handed her the toast, jam, 1 slice. The way she liked it, Daddy? Is Nora gonna be there today? Thomas set down the butter knife. Probably. She was there yesterday, I know. And Monday, I know. She's there more now. He looked at his daughter. Lily was chewing, watching him. She had her mother's eyes. He'd made peace with that a long time ago. Is that okay with you? Lily thought about it, took another bite. Swallowed. She helps me sort the buckets, yeah? She always gives me the yellow one. Huh, I think she knows yellow is my favorite. Thomas waited. Lily was still thinking. Dad, yeah, I don't think she can talk. I don't think she can either. Is she sad? He turned the question over carefully. I think she was sad for a long time. And sometimes when people are sad that long, their words get stuck. Can they get unstuck? Sometimes. How? Slowly, Lily nodded. Like that made sense. Like she herself knew something about things getting stuck and taking a while to come unstuck. She finished her toast, got her backpack, hugged his leg on the way out the door, and Thomas locked up the apartment and drove her to school and thought about the little girl who stood 6 feet from the sandbox and watched everything with eyes that didn't miss anything. He'd known for weeks she was watching him. He just hadn't said anything to anyone about it. The first time Thomas saw Adeline Whitmore, he noticed 2 things. Her coat was worth more than his car, and her eyes were empty, not cold, not cruel. Empty. He'd seen that look before, on a man behind the wheel of a Ford Taurus on the side of Route 9, a man who'd been dead for 30 minutes by the time Thomas got to the scene. But the eyes had looked like that for a lot longer than 30 minutes. Thomas had been 26 years old, a patrol officer. He'd stood next to that car for 4 hours waiting for the coroner. There was a little girl in the back seat, 4 years old, still buckled in her car seat. Not a scratch on her, just looking at him. Holding a stuffed bear, the girl didn't talk. They thought shock. Turned out she'd stopped talking 3 months before the crash. Her mother had died of cancer in February. The dad had been raising her alone. Thomas had stayed with that little girl until her aunt came. 6 hours. He held her hand. He didn't try to make her speak. He didn't say everything was going to be okay. He just stayed. When the aunt arrived, she'd cried and thanked him and taken the girl away. Thomas had sat in his cruiser in the hospital parking lot for another 2 hours. Something had cracked in him that night. He didn't know what yet. Just that something was different. 2 weeks later, he filed paperwork to leave the force. His sergeant had asked him why Thomas hadn't answered, because the truth was something he wasn't ready to say out loud yet. Not to his sergeant, not to anyone. The truth was he'd found something on that car. Before the tow truck arrived, he'd knelt down and looked underneath. Not because he was supposed to, because his gut told him to. The brake line had been cut. Clean cut. Not an accident. Not a failure. Cut. He'd reported it. His sergeant had kicked it up to the lieutenant. The lieutenant had kicked it up to someone else. 3 days later, the report came back. Official cause: brake failure due to corrosion. Thomas had read that report twice. He'd known corrosion didn't look like a clean cut. He'd known it in his bones. He'd also known what it meant when a report like that came back that fast. Somebody wanted it closed. Somebody had asked for it to be closed. And the little girl who'd lost her father to a cut brake line was 4 years old and couldn't speak. Thomas had turned in his badge that Friday, took a job at a hardware store, lived cheap, took care of Lily. But the instincts never went away. And when Adeline Whitmore walked into that courtyard for the first time, 4 months ago, with her empty eyes and her silent little daughter. Thomas had felt something wake up in him he hadn't felt in a long time. Not attraction. Not yet. Recognition. She worked late the first day he started paying real attention, early September. The air had that quality it gets when summer is thinking about leaving but hasn't committed. Thomas was on the roof replacing a section of gutter. He'd been up there since 2. From the roof he had a full view of the back courtyard. He saw the boy first, about 4 years old, working himself into a panic over a ball that had rolled under a bench. The kid was starting to hyperventilate. Staff was across the courtyard, unaware. Thomas came down the ladder fast, crossed the courtyard, crouched next to the boy. "Hey buddy," the boy looked at him, red-faced, shaking. "Ball's under there, huh?" The boy nodded. "You want it?" "Nod, okay, let's get it. But I can't do it without you. I don't know which ball is yours." The boy blinked. Some of the panic broke. The red one. There's a lot of red things under there. The one with the star. Okay. Red ball with the star. Got it. You point. I'll reach. The boy pointed. Thomas reached, got the ball, handed it over, didn't make a big thing out of it. The boy held the ball against his chest like it had been gone for a year. "Thanks. You're welcome, bud." Thomas stood up, brushed his knees, and that was when he saw her, Adeline Whitmore, standing on the far side of the courtyard, watching him. She wasn't alone. Another woman beside her, sharp suit, phone in hand, talking at Adeline's ear about something. But Adeline wasn't listening. Adeline was watching Thomas. He didn't hold the look. He nodded once and walked back toward his ladder. He wasn't the kind of man who needed to be looked at. He'd had enough of being looked at in uniform to last a lifetime. But as he climbed back up to the roof, he could feel her eyes still on his back, and he thought, that woman is drowning, and she doesn't know it yet. He'd asked around later that week, carefully. Not the way a cop asks, the way a handyman asks. "Oh, who was that in the courtyard on Tuesday?" "The one in the navy coat. Mrs. Whitmore runs a company. Big one. Her daughter comes for sessions 3 times a week." "What's the daughter's deal?" "Selective mutism. Going on 3 years now. Father died when the girl was 3. Car accident." Thomas had been up on a ladder when he heard that last part. He'd gripped the rung harder than he needed to. Car accident. He'd kept his voice level. "What kind of accident?" "Overpass on the highway. 2 in the morning, single car. No other vehicles involved." Thomas had nodded. Gone back to work, finished his shift, driven home, made Lily dinner, put her to bed. And then he'd sat at his kitchen table at 11 o'clock at night and opened his old laptop. The one he hadn't turned on in over a year. He'd looked up the accident. 20 minutes. Public record. Daniel Whitmore. 34 years old at the time of death. Single car. Highway overpass. Estimated time of death between 2 and 2:15 a.m. Official cause. Driver lost control. Excessive speed for conditions. Thomas had read the report 3 times. Then he'd closed the laptop. He'd sat in the dark kitchen for another hour. He couldn't say exactly what he felt, only that he'd felt it before. That specific quiet alarm that sits behind your ribs when something you're reading doesn't match something you know. He'd gone to bed at 1 in the morning. He hadn't slept until 4. That had been 4 weeks before the afternoon Nora walked up to him. In those 4 weeks, he'd seen her almost every day. She'd stood 6 feet away, then 5, then 4. She'd come close enough one afternoon to watch Lily put together a puzzle. She'd reached for a piece once and pulled her hand back. Thomas hadn't ever looked directly at her. Not once. Because some creatures will only come close if you pretend you haven't seen them. He knew this because of a stray cat he'd fed for 6 months as a boy. The cat had eventually climbed into his lap. But only because he'd never once moved toward it. Nora was not a cat. But she was very much a creature who was deciding something. And so Thomas had done what he'd always done. He'd waited. He'd tied Lily's shoe. He'd told her about the squirrel with the bagel. And he'd left the door open. In the quietest way a man can leave a door open. By not appearing to be aware that a door existed at all. The Wednesday afternoon it happened. The sky was one of those late October skies that looks brushed. Streaks of white cloud over blue, cool air, warm sun. The day makes you feel like maybe things can still turn out okay. Thomas was on one knee on the paving stones. Lily was standing in front of him, left shoe untied. 3rd time that week. Same shoe, always the left, Dad. The squirrel thing again? What squirrel thing? You know what squirrel thing. I don't. The bagel squirrel. Oh, that squirrel. Squirrels don't eat bagels. Dad, this was one did. Squirrels eat nuts. This one was a free thinker, Dad. I'm telling you what I saw. You saw a squirrel carrying an entire bagel. I saw a squirrel carrying an entire bagel across the parking lot. An entire bagel. Poppy seed. It was a poppy seed bagel. Dad, I stand by my story. Lily was laughing now, her shoulder shaking. She almost kicked his hand as he was tying the knot. Thomas pulled back, finished the loop, gave it a final tug. All right, go. She ran. Sandbox. 2 kids building something. Lily was going to take over within 30 seconds. It was her gift. Thomas started to stand up and felt something touch his jacket. Not a grab, not a pull. A small deliberate hold on the fabric near his shoulder. He didn't move. He didn't look down. His body knew before his mind did. He lowered himself back onto his knee. Slowly, very slowly, until he was at eye level with her. Nora Whitmore. 6 years old, dark hair in a braid that was starting to come apart. Enormous, serious eyes. Her hand was still on his jacket. She was looking at him. And then she said 2 words. Her voice was so small it was barely a voice at all. It was the idea of a voice. It was what a voice sounds like before it's all the way sure it's allowed. Again, a pause, a breath. Daddy. Thomas did not move. He did not speak. He did not do any of the things he would later wish he'd had the presence of mind to do. He just stayed there, on one knee, looking at her, letting the moment be what it was. Because he knew bone deep, that this was not a moment for an adult to interfere with. Not even kindly, not even lovingly. This was a moment a child was giving, and the only right response was to receive it. He saw her eyes move, just slightly, a flick past him, towards something behind him. She'd registered another presence. Thomas didn't turn around. He didn't need to. He heard the footsteps, slow, measured, then faster. Then the small sound of someone trying to be quiet and failing because their breath was too loud. Adeline Whitmore knelt on the paving stones behind her daughter. Thomas finally looked up, over Nora's shoulder. At her, Adeline had one hand pressed against her mouth. The other was hovering in the air near her daughter's shoulder, not touching, afraid to touch. Her eyes were wet. She looked at Thomas. She looked at her daughter. She looked back at Thomas. And she said the words he would remember for the rest of his life. Not because of what she said, because of how she said them. Say it again. Her voice broke on the second word, please. Baby, say it again. Nora turned to look at her mother. Thomas watched it happen. Watched the little girl's face shift. Not fear, something subtler. The look a child gives when she realizes she's been seen doing something she didn't know anyone was watching. Nora pressed her lips together. She did not speak again. Adeline reached out, slow. Her hand came toward her daughter's shoulder and stopped 6 inches away. She was afraid. Thomas could see it, plain as day. This woman, this CEO who ran a $300 million company, was afraid of her own 6-year-old, afraid to close the distance, afraid that if she moved too fast, the thing that had just happened would snap shut and never open again. Nora took a small step back, not away, just back, and she was silent. The whole thing had taken maybe 40 seconds. It felt like it had taken an hour. Adeline stayed on her knees for another moment, after Nora wandered back toward the indoor corridor. Her hand was still hovering in the air where her daughter's shoulder had been. Thomas stood up slowly. He did not say anything, because there was nothing useful to say. Adeline finally pushed herself up off the ground. She was not graceful about it. She was a woman whose body had forgotten how to work. She didn't look at him. She walked toward the center, toward the doors. Fast. She didn't turn around. Thomas watched her go, and then he knelt back down and picked up his wrench. Finished the work he'd been doing, because that was what he knew how to do. He worked until 5:30. Lily came out of the center looking for him at 5:35. He wiped his hands on a rag, put the tools in the box, lifted her up onto his hip even though she was too big for that now. Dad, yeah, Bug, what happened with Nora? He stopped walking. What do you mean? She came out a minute ago and she was crying but not loud. Just her face was wet. Thomas set her down. She's having a hard day. Is her mom mad? No, her mom's not mad. Her mom looked like she was going to cry too. Yeah, Dad, yeah. Is Nora gonna talk someday? Thomas looked down at his daughter, at her mismatched socks peeking above her sneakers, at the expression on her face that was entirely her own. Concerned, thoughtful, older than 7. I think she might already have started. Lily absorbed that, nodded once. Then she took his hand and pulled him toward the car. Dad, yeah, can we have pancakes tomorrow? It's Wednesday. Wednesday's pancake day? Wednesday's whatever you want day. Deal. He buckled her into the back seat, closed the door, walked around to the driver's side. Before he got in, he looked up at the recovery center, 3rd floor window. End of the corridor. Adeline Whitmore was standing at the window. She wasn't looking at the parking lot. She wasn't looking at anything. She was just standing there with her arms wrapped around herself. Thomas looked at her for a second longer than he should have. Then he got in the car, and he drove his daughter home. That night, Thomas put Lily to bed at 8:30. Read her 2 chapters of the book they were halfway through. Kissed her forehead. Turned off the light. Left the door cracked open the way she liked. He went into the kitchen. Poured himself a glass of water. Drank it standing up at the sink. He thought about Adeline at the window. He thought about the little girl's hand on his jacket. He thought about a cut brake line 8 years ago. And he thought about a highway overpass at 2 in the morning, on a night 3 years ago, when a man named Daniel Whitmore lost control of a car. A man Thomas had never met, but a man whose name had appeared in an envelope 6 years ago, a letter from Thomas's mother. Thomas had read that letter once, put it in a drawer, hadn't opened it since. His younger brother Jacob had needed heart surgery at 9 years old. A defect insurance wouldn't cover. The family had $72 in the bank. An anonymous donor had paid the balance. 6 years later, Thomas's mother had gone looking. The hospital foundation had given her the name Daniel Whitmore, the only time he had ever given that way. The only time. Jacob was 22 now, senior year of state college, graduating in May. Because a stranger had written a check. A stranger who was also Adeline Whitmore's husband. A stranger who had died on a highway overpass at 2 in the morning. Thomas stood at the sink with the empty glass in his hand. He had not expected the debt to come due this way. He had not expected it to come due in the form of a silent little girl grabbing his jacket in a courtyard. He had not expected any of it, but he understood, standing in his kitchen at 10:30 at night, that whatever was about to start had already started, and he was going to see it through, because that was what a man did. When a debt came due, you paid it. When a child reached for your jacket, you stayed. When a woman looked out a window with her arms around herself like she was holding her own body together, you didn't walk away. Not if you were the kind of man he'd been raised to be. Not if you were the kind of father he wanted Lily to grow up seeing. The Thomas rinsed the glass, set it upside down on the towel. He turned off the kitchen light. He walked down the hall, looked in at Lily on the way. She was asleep. Rabbit under her arm, mouth slightly open. He closed his door. He lay down in his clothes. He did not sleep. The next morning, at 4:30, he got up and made coffee and drove to the recovery center. The swing section was still half done. He knelt down on the paving stones. He went back to work. Adeline Whitmore did not sleep that night. She sat at the kitchen counter of her brownstone on the Upper East Side. Marble, cold. She hadn't bothered to turn on the overhead light. Just the small lamp by the stove. The laptop was closed in front of her. She hadn't opened it once. That was new. For 3 years, the laptop had been her anchor. Open it, work. Don't think. The work was the wall. The wall kept out the thing on the other side. Tonight the wall was gone. Tonight she kept hearing the word daddy. Not Daniel, not a memory of Daniel. Just the word, in her daughter's voice. A voice Adeline had not heard in 3 years. She got off the stool at 1 in the morning and walked up the stairs, past the framed photos in the hallway that she had kept because removing them felt like a second death. Past Daniel's study door. She did not open it. She stopped outside Nora's room. The door was open a crack. A nightlight glowed inside, shaped like a moon. Nora was asleep. On her side, one hand curled under her chin. The other wrapped around the rabbit Thomas Beckett's daughter had given her in the courtyard 2 weeks ago. Adeline watched her daughter breathe, and she thought, I have been a stranger to you. Not unloving, not absent, just a stranger. She had been managing her daughter's grief the way she managed a hostile takeover. Metrics, benchmarks, weekly reviews. She'd built a perfect system, and her daughter had been dying quietly inside it, until a maintenance worker tied his own child's shoe on the ground and told a story about a squirrel with a bagel. Adeline pressed her forehead against the doorframe. She did not cry. She had not cried in 3 years. Not really. Small leakages. Not the real thing. She stood there until her feet went numb. Then she went to her own room, and she sat on the edge of the bed fully dressed, and she stared at the wall until the sun came up. She arrived at the recovery center 20 minutes before Nora's session the next morning. Dr. Patricia Monroe looked up from her desk and did not look surprised. A composed woman in her late 50s, gray hair in a low bun, a face that had absorbed a lot of parental panic in its time. Mrs. Whitmore, I need to understand what just happened. Dr. Monroe set down her pen. Sit. I don't want to sit. Sit anyway. Adeline sat. She pulled her coat tighter around herself, which was odd because the office was warm. Dr. Monroe pulled her chair around to the same side of the desk. She did not put anything between them. She did not open a file. Tell me what you saw. You were there. Tell me what you saw. Adeline exhaled. She touched him, his jacket. And she said a word. What word? 2 words. What words, Adeline? Again, a pause, Daddy. Dr. Monroe nodded once. Slowly, and you asked her to say it again. Yes, and she didn't? No. And you're sitting here trying to understand why a stranger could get a sentence out of her, when you haven't been able to in 3 years. Adeline's jaw clenched. That's not what It is what you're doing. And I'm telling you it's the wrong question, then give me the right one. Dr. Monroe looked at her for a long moment. The right question is, why did your daughter stop talking? We know why. She heard us argue, he left, he died. You know the facts. You don't know the why. I don't understand the distinction. No, you don't. Which is part of the problem. Dr. Monroe leaned forward. Her voice went softer. There is a pattern I've seen in children like Nora. Selective mutism rooted in what I call emotional tethering. The child doesn't stop speaking because she's afraid of saying the wrong thing. She stops speaking because her mind made a connection. Speaking caused something. Her voice made something happen. She was 3. 3 is old enough to form a conclusion, especially a magical one. What conclusion? That she lost her father because someone spoke. Adeline sat very still. That's not logical. Children are not logical, Adeline. They are survival engines. And when a child's survival engine concludes that silence is safe and speech is dangerous, it will enforce that rule until something proves it wrong. And Thomas proved it wrong. No, Thomas didn't prove anything. Thomas was simply there being himself, being a father, on the ground, doing small, unremarkable things. He didn't approach her like a project. He didn't perform warmth at her. He tied a shoe. He told a story. He existed the way a parent exists when a parent is not in crisis. Adeline looked at the floor, and my daughter saw that. Your daughter has been watching him for weeks. I didn't know. You did know. You just didn't know you knew. Adeline's hands were shaking slightly. She pressed them flat against her thighs. What do I do? You do nothing. That is not an acceptable answer. It's the only acceptable answer. You do nothing to engineer another moment like that one. Because if you try, you'll destroy the conditions that made it possible. So wait, you do what parents have always done. You show up, you stay soft, and you do the harder thing, which is what? You let her see you afraid. Adeline looked up sharply. Excuse me, you have been performing strength for 3 years. It is very convincing. Nora is not convinced. Nora has been watching you perform, and she has been drawing her own conclusions about what it costs you. She's been filing away the evidence. And part of what she's been protecting you from is her voice. Because she thinks her voice broke you once before, Adeline's hand went to her mouth. Dr. Monroe's voice went softer still. Your daughter doesn't need a perfect mother, Mrs. Whitmore. She needs a mother who is safe enough to be scared with her. Adeline did not respond. She couldn't. The sentence had hit her somewhere she didn't know was exposed. She stood up. She said thank you. She walked out of the office. She made it to her car before her knees started to go. She got in, closed the door, gripped the steering wheel with both hands, and for the first time in 3 years, she let herself remember that Tuesday night in September as what it had actually been. Not as a case file, not as a press-ready summary, as what it was, a kitchen. An argument, a sentence she had said and would give anything to take back. She gripped the steering wheel harder. She did not drive out of the parking lot for another 20 minutes. She just sat there with the car running. 3 weeks passed. She did not try to engineer another moment. She did what Dr. Monroe had said. She adjusted her schedule. She arrived during outdoor time. She brought coffee from the second-floor machine that she already knew was terrible. She sat on the bench opposite Thomas, and she watched her daughter choose to come closer. It took time, but it happened. Nora began to sit next to Lily at the sandbox. Then to hand her things without being asked. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon in mid-November, to help Lily organize a bin of colored buckets by color, without a single word. For 40 minutes, the longest stretch of sustained social engagement Nora had managed since she was 3. Thomas sat on his bench. Adeline sat on hers. They did not speak. They did not need to. Something was happening on the paving stones between them that adults had been getting in the way of for 3 years. The first real conversation between Adeline and Thomas happened over bad coffee, a Thursday. 4:50 in the afternoon. She'd come out of the center with 2 cups. She hadn't planned to hand him one. She just did. He took it. Looked at it. Looked at her. This from the second-floor machine. Yes, you know there's a window. A window. 11 minutes. Late afternoon. It's almost drinkable. Is it open now? It's closing. She laughed. She heard the sound come out of her own throat and was startled by it. Thomas did not seem startled. He just took a sip of the coffee, winced slightly. Took another sip anyway. "Thank you. For the coffee. You're welcome." They stood there on the edge of the courtyard. The sun was low, thick golden light. The kind that comes in late November when the day is about to decide it's over. Nora and Lily were at the sandbox. Two little shapes bent over a plastic castle. Lily was talking. Nora was listening. "She's better with your daughter than she's been with anyone. Lily's a good kid. She is. She's also stubborn as a mule. Don't let her fool you." Adeline smiled into her coffee. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. How long have you been here?" "At the center, yes. 14 months. What did you do before?" A pause. "Different things." "That's vague." "It is. You don't have to tell me." "I know." He looked at her for a second. "I taught preschool music for 6 years." "Music, yeah. You don't look like a preschool music teacher." "I take that as a compliment." "It wasn't." "I'll take it anyway." She laughed again. "Twice in 5 minutes." She hadn't laughed twice in 5 minutes in a long time. "Why did you leave?" "My marriage ended. The school was too far from where I could afford to live. I needed a job that matched Lily's schedule. So you came here." "I came to a hardware store first. Then I came here. And before the preschool," he looked at her. He took another sip of the coffee. He did not answer. She let it go. She respected that kind of silence. A man who wouldn't answer a question he didn't trust yet was a man whose answers, when they came, would be real. She changed the subject. "How are you holding up?" "Holding up. With Lily." "With all of it." He thought about it. "Tired." "How tired?" "The kind sleep doesn't fix." She nodded. She knew exactly that kind of tired. They stood there in the golden light, and they did not say anything else. It was enough. Thomas noticed the car on a Wednesday, black SUV, tinted windows, parked across the street from the center. Not in a designated space, on the residential side, half a block down. He noticed it because he noticed everything. That was the only reason. He wrote down the plate number on the inside of his forearm with a ballpoint pen. He went back to work. The next day the SUV was there again, different time. Same plate. On the third day, he pulled out his phone and called a man he hadn't called in 6 years. "Harlan," a long pause on the other end. "Well, I'll be damned. You still taking work?" "I take real work." "You got real work, maybe. Tell me." Thomas gave him the plate number, gave him the address, gave him the time windows he'd seen the car. "You want to tell me who's in the car? I want to know who the car belongs to. And who paid for the driver's time. That it?" For now, a pause. "Tom." "Yeah, you sound like yourself again." "Don't." "All right, Harlan. Yeah, this is quiet work. You understand? Always was." He hung up. He finished the swing set chain that afternoon. He'd been telling himself he'd finish it for a month. He'd been holding back because he'd been distracted. Thomas was not the kind of man who let projects slip. Something was not right. Something had not been right for a long time. And he was going to find out what. The photograph showed up on a Saturday, a business lifestyle website. The kind that publishes soft profiles of female executives. The kind Adeline had not asked to be profiled by. The piece itself was harmless. Glowing, even. A puff piece about a young widow running a company with grace. At the bottom of the digital version there was a photograph, uncaptioned. The photograph showed Adeline and Thomas standing near the garden wall at the recovery center, coffee in hand. Light golden, both of them leaning slightly toward each other. It was not a photograph of two people doing anything wrong. It was a photograph that implied everything it did not say. Camille Oster, Adeline's operations director, brought it to her office Monday morning. Camille had the habit of delivering bad news with great calm. The calmer she got, the worse the news was. "I need you to see this." Adeline looked at the screen. "This is a problem." "Why?" "Because of who sees it. Because of what they'll say. Because of how it positions you with the board. Because Everett already called me about it." Adeline's stomach dropped at the name. Everett called. Everett called. What did he say? He said he was concerned. That was the word he used. Concerned. Concerned. He said he'd like to know more about the man in the photograph. Adeline looked at the photograph. She looked at Camille. She looked back at the photograph. She was remembering something. Thomas had told her, in passing, that his life had taught him to notice when someone was watching. Camille. Yes. Why would Everett be concerned? Because he cares about you? No. He cares about the stock price. Those aren't mutually exclusive. They're not the same thing either. Camille paused. Mrs. Whitmore. Adeline. I'm asking you, respectfully, to create some distance. From Thomas, from the appearance of the thing. I see, it won't be forever. No, just until the attention dies down. Right. Adeline did not agree out loud. She also did not disagree out loud. She thanked Camille and Camille left. Adeline sat at her desk for a long time. She looked at the photograph and she thought, Everett called. Why did Everett call? She did not know yet. She would know soon. She did it anyway. She pulled back. She told herself she wouldn't. But small things began to accumulate. She arrived at the center a little later, a little earlier. Not at the same hours. She was polite to Thomas. More polite than she had been, which was the worst kind of pulling back. The kind that looked like courtesy. Thomas noticed it inside of 2 days. He did not say anything. He pulled back too, not out of hurt, out of strategy. Because the worst thing a man can do when someone needs to work something out inside their own head is to press on her defenses. But Nora felt it. Of course she did. She had been built by silence into something finely tuned to emotional weather. She had been taking steps forward. Now the current had changed, and she felt the change the way a person feels a barometric drop before a storm. She went quieter. She stopped sitting next to Lily. She stopped handing her the yellow bucket. Lily, who was 7 but had seen a lot, looked at her father one evening over dinner. Dad, what happened with Nora's mom? Thomas set down his fork. I'm not sure yet. Bug, did you do something wrong? No. Did she do something wrong? No. Then why is Nora doing that thing again? What thing? The back away thing. Thomas looked at his daughter. He had not noticed his own daughter noticing. I'll fix it. How? I don't know yet, Dad. Yeah, Nora needs Nora's mom to not be scared. Thomas stared at his 7-year-old. She picked up her fork and went back to her spaghetti. Harlan Finch called on a Tuesday night. Thomas was in the parking lot of the grocery store. Lily was inside picking out cereal. The phone rang. He pulled over and answered, Tom, go. Plate belongs to a fleet vehicle. Corporate leased. Leased by a subsidiary. Subsidiary owned by another subsidiary. 3 layers down I hit the holding company. Whose holding company? Owned by one Everett Langford. Thomas closed his eyes. Everett Langford. Chief Financial Officer of Whitmore Capital. I know who he is. Figured you might. Who's the driver? Private investigator. Name's Dean Rowe. Licensed. Not the cleanest record. Does work for corporate clients. Cheating spouses. Ousting partners. What's he been doing? Tailing a woman. Documenting her schedule. Who she meets. Everything she does outside of work hours. The woman Adeline Whitmore. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Tom, I'm here. There's more, tell me. I pulled the subject's phone records. Not the woman. The CFO Everett. Took me some favors. But I got him. And night of October 17th. 3 years ago. Last phone call Daniel Whitmore ever received was from Everett Langford. 11:46 p.m., 22 minutes before the accident. 22 minutes. 22 minutes. Thomas sat with both hands on the steering wheel. The engine was off. Harlan. Yeah, you sure about that? I'm sure. Where was the accident? Route 9. Overpass. Was Daniel driving to meet him? I can't prove that. But the direction of travel at the time of impact was northbound. Away from the Whitmore residence. Toward a commercial corridor where Langford owned a condo at the time. Thomas was quiet. Tom, listen to me. I can't prove he caused the crash. I'm not saying he did. There's no physical evidence of tampering. Was there an inspection? Standard post-accident? Nothing found. Who ran it? State Patrol. Out of the overpass jurisdiction. Thomas's jaw set. Who signed off? Harlan paused. Tom. Who signed off? Harlan. Sergeant named Garrity. Retired 18 months after. To Florida. On a pension that does not match 18 months of prior savings. Thomas closed his eyes again. It was not proof. But it was a pattern. Harlan. Yeah, I need one more thing. Name it. I need to know why Everett Langford was calling Daniel Whitmore at 11:46 at night. I'm working on it. Work faster. He hung up. He sat there until Lily came out of the store with a box of cereal and a juice box. She climbed into the passenger seat. Looked at his face. Dad, yeah, bug. You look like you're doing math in your head, yeah. Is it bad math? He turned the key in the ignition. It's math that has to be finished. She nodded. She did not ask again. She was 7. But she knew her father. The Hillside Center's annual Corporate Community Day was scheduled for the 2nd Saturday of December. Adeline's company was the primary sponsor. Camille had been planning it for 6 weeks. It was, in hindsight, an almost perfectly designed mechanism for the worst possible outcome. The morning of, Thomas walked into the courtyard at 10:30. Lily was holding his hand, red sweater, hair in 2 braids. They had taken a long time to get right. He had done them himself. Lily had inspected them in the bathroom mirror and declared them adequate. By 11, the courtyard was full of people, press along the north wall, activity stations along the east, a podium set up on the west side, local reporters, bloggers, A woman with a camera that had an ostentatiously large telephoto lens. Thomas noticed the lens. He noticed because it was wrong for the space. A telephoto lens is not a close quarters lens. You don't bring a telephoto lens to a corporate philanthropy event unless you are planning to photograph something you are not supposed to be close enough to photograph. He did not mention it. He filed it. He watched. Adeline arrived at 11:15. Nora was holding her hand. Nora was overwhelmed within a minute. Thomas could see it. Her shoulders drew up, her jaw tightened, her eyes went flat. Selective mutism is not just a refusal to speak. It is an involuntary physiological freeze. A child in that state is not being quiet. She is unable to function. Adeline, doing what she had always done, hit crisis management mode. She signaled to Camille. Camille signaled to staff. Staff began to form a perimeter. Photographers began to notice. Cameras began to rise. It was exactly the wrong thing. Nora felt the machinery close in. Her breathing changed. Her eyes went somewhere Adeline could not follow. Thomas was on the other side of the courtyard. He moved, he did not run. He walked with direction. He reached Lily first, said her name once. She came to him immediately. He walked to Nora. He sat down on the ground. Stone-cold paving. He did not care. He sat Lily down in front of him. He put one arm around Lily's shoulders and he left the other side of himself open, not reaching, just open. Nora stepped forward, one step, then another. She did not sit. She stood in the spaces he had left open for her. He kept his voice low. Lily found a caterpillar this morning. Its name is Gerald. Lily picked up the cue immediately. Gerald is a good name. Gerald is a terrible name for a caterpillar. Dad, caterpillars should have caterpillar names. What's a caterpillar name? Noodle. Wiggle. Professor Crawls, Professor Crawls, Professor Crawls. Lily giggled. Nora moved closer. Her small hand closed on the front of Thomas's jacket, both hands. Tight. Her voice came out clear, small. But clear. Don't make him go. Thomas did not look at her. He did not move. He said, very gently, "Nobody's making anybody go, sweetheart." Several people heard her. A reporter 3 feet away heard her. Camille heard her from across the courtyard. Adeline heard her. Adeline had been in the middle of a sentence with the event coordinator. The sentence did not finish. And across the courtyard, the woman with the telephoto lens raised her camera. Thomas moved his body, subtly, to block the line of sight. He raised his eyes. He looked at the woman with the camera. He did not say anything out loud. He just let his face be seen. A face that had spent 8 years on a police force. A face that had held a little girl's hand in the back seat of a wrecked car for 6 hours. A face that had come back from something it should not have come back from. The woman lowered the camera. She looked at her phone. Then at the crowd. Then at the exit. She walked out of the event. Nobody ever saw Dean Rowe at a Whitmore event again. Nora was still holding onto Thomas's jacket. He put his free hand on top of hers, very lightly. "I'm right here." She pressed her forehead against his shoulder. And that was the moment, that exact moment, that Adeline Whitmore stopped managing anything and simply walked across the courtyard and knelt down on the paving stones next to her daughter and did not say a word. She just stayed. Thomas looked at her over the top of Nora's head. She looked back at him, and something passed between them that was not a promise and not a negotiation. It was just recognition of two adults who had finally agreed, in silence, to stop being in the way of a child. That night, long after Lily was asleep and the event had ended, and Adeline had driven Nora home and put her in a warm bath and made her mac and cheese. Adeline sat at the kitchen counter in the dark, and she finally opened the drawer she had not opened in 3 years. Inside the drawer was a letter, Daniel's last letter, written to her, unsealed, unsent, found on his desk 2 days after the accident. She had put it in the drawer and never read it. She read it now. Her hand was shaking so hard she had to steady the paper against the counter. "Adi, if you're reading this, something has gone sideways. I don't know what yet. I don't want to scare you. But something in the numbers on the last quarter isn't right. I've been trying to trace it. It's Everett. I don't know how deep. I don't know how long, but it's him. If something happens to me, and it probably won't, but if, don't trust him. Don't let him near Nora. Don't let him near the company. Adi, you are stronger than you know. I love you. I love you. I love you." She pressed the letter flat against the counter with both hands. She thought about Everett at the hospital 3 years ago, about Everett at the funeral, Everett at the reading of the will, Everett picking Nora up once, 2 years ago, when Adeline had been stuck in a deposition. Nora had gotten home and locked herself in the upstairs bathroom for 2 hours. Adeline had thought it was the stress. Adeline had thought so many things were the stress. Her stomach turned. And for the first time in 3 years, Adeline Whitmore cried. Not a leak, not a polite tear. The real thing, the whole thing. And somewhere across the city, on the other side of town, in a small apartment on the edge of the city, a man was sitting at his kitchen table, writing a name on a piece of paper and drawing a circle around it. Everett Langford. The circle was steady. The hand that drew it was not shaking. Not anymore. Adeline Whitmore did not sleep that night either. But this time she did not sit in the dark at a kitchen counter. She walked from the kitchen to Daniel's study, from the study to Nora's bedroom door, from Nora's door back to the kitchen. A loop. Again. The letter was on the counter. Folded, unfolded, folded again. She kept touching the edge of the paper as she walked past, checking it was still real, because part of her still thought, maybe I hallucinated it. Maybe I wrote it myself. Maybe 3 years of silence had done this to me. Except the handwriting was his. Except the way he wrote her name was his. Except the 3 I love yous in a row at the bottom. Daniel had always done that. Always. At the end of every note he'd left her since they were 22. It was him, and he'd known. He had known. At 4 in the morning, she stopped walking. She sat down on the floor of the hallway, back against the wall, legs straight out in front of her, bare feet, the hardwood cold against her heels. She pressed her forehead against her knees, and she said out loud, to the empty hallway, to the cold floor, to the man who was not there, I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry. The morning came anyway. She got up. She showered. She put on a gray suit, not black. Black was for funerals, gray was for war. She made Nora breakfast. She did not tell her daughter anything. She kissed her forehead. She drove to the office at 6:40. She walked past her own assistant without stopping. She walked past the glass wall of the executive suite. She stopped at Everett Langford's office. He was already at his desk. He always was. That was one of the things she had admired about him. Once. He was early. He was always early. He looked up when she knocked. Addie. You're in early. Good morning, Everett. Everything okay? I need you in the main conference room at 9. Sure. What's the topic? I'll brief the board. You'll hear it then. He paused. The pause was half a second too long. Of course, she walked out. She did not look back. She stopped at her assistant's desk. Gretchen, Mrs. Whitmore. Call every board member. Emergency meeting. 9 sharp. In person only. In person. In person. No phone-ins. No exceptions. If they're out of town, they fly. Gretchen picked up the phone. Adeline walked into her own office, closed the door, sat down. She pulled out her phone. She hovered her thumb over the contact for a second. Then she pressed it. Thomas Beckett answered on the second ring. Ma'am, Thomas, are you all right? No, what do you need? I need you to come to my office at 8:30. A pause. You sure? Yes, all right. Thomas. Yeah, thank you. She hung up before he could answer. She sat there for a long time with her hand on the phone. Then she opened her laptop and she did the thing she did best. She prepared. Thomas drove Lily to school first. He dropped her off at the front gate, watched her walk into the building, watched until the door closed behind her. Then he drove to Whitmore Capitol. He had never been in the building before. He'd seen it from the street, 52 stories, mirrored glass. A lobby you could have parked a small plane in. He walked in wearing his flannel shirt and his work boots. The security guard looked him up and down. Can I help you, sir, Thomas Beckett? For Mrs. Whitmore. The guard checked his screen. His eyebrows went up, 48th floor. Elevator on the right. Thomas rode up. The elevator opened into a lobby with actual artwork on the walls. A woman behind a desk stood up. Mr. Beckett. This way, she led him through the glass-walled hallway. Past a conference room. Past a kitchen that had a barista station in it. Past rows of people who were pretending not to look at him. She stopped at a door. Adeline was inside, standing at the window, looking out at the city. She turned when he came in. She had been crying. He could tell. Not in the last hour. Earlier. She had pulled herself back together. But the evidence was in the eyes. Close the door. He closed the door. Sit. He sat. She slid a folder across the desk. He opened it. It was the letter from Daniel. Handwritten. 3 pages. Thomas read it slowly. He read it twice. When he finished, he closed the folder and set it carefully back on the desk. He did not speak. Adeline sat down across from him. I opened the drawer last night. I see that. It was there for 3 years, yes. I couldn't touch it. For 3 years, I told myself I was too busy. I was lying, I called an emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. I'm going to lay it out. What do you have? I have the letter. I have a timeline. I have Everett's call log from the night Daniel died. That's not enough for criminal charges, no. But it's enough for the board. It's enough to force him out. Yes. Thomas nodded slowly. What do you need from me? I need you to be there. He looked up, Adeline. That's not a good idea. I didn't say it was a good idea. You don't need me in that room. I need you in that room. Why? Her jaw worked. Because for 3 years I have faced every hard thing in a suit. Alone, in a conference room. With men who did not wish me well. And I need. She stopped. She pressed the heel of her hand against her eye. I need to walk into that room and know there's one person in it who is not calculating. Thomas was quiet. All right. But I'm not sitting at the table. No, I'll stand at the back. Yes, and I'm not saying anything. No, unless he says something about you. Adeline looked at him. If he says something about you, I am saying something. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The board met at 9, 12 members, 10 in person, 2 flown in overnight. 1 came in looking like he had slept on a plane. 1 came in looking like he had not slept at all. Everett walked in at 8:59, smiling. The smile of a man who believed he still had the room. He took his seat. Adeline was already seated. She did not smile at him. She did not look at him. She opened the meeting at exactly 9. Good morning. Thank you all for coming on short notice. I'll be presenting findings that concern this company's financial integrity and the integrity of one member of our senior leadership. Everett's smile stayed on, but his eyes did not. Adeline opened the binder in front of her. She did not read from notes. She had not prepared notes. She had memorized every line. She walked the board through it. The financial projections Daniel had flagged 3 years ago. The leaked numbers. The stock movement that had followed. The accounts Everett had been managing. The timing, the volume. The name of the shell company that had bought up a block of stock in the 48 hours before the leak. She laid it out for 45 minutes. She did not raise her voice once. When she was finished, the room was silent. Everett cleared his throat. Adeline. These are serious accusations. They're not accusations, Everett. They're records. These are your interpretations of records. They are records. You have been under a great deal of strain. Don't what? Don't do that. Not in this room, not today. Everett's jaw tightened, I see. He looked around the table, looking for his allies. He had them. He had 3 on this board. He'd cultivated them for years. But he also saw the 2 members who had flown in overnight. He saw the woman at the far end of the table whose face had gone still. He saw the man next to her whose hand was on his phone. And he saw, standing at the back of the room, a man in a flannel shirt and work boots. Everett looked at Thomas. And who is this, exactly? Adeline did not answer. Thomas did not answer Adeline. Is this the maintenance worker? Yes. In a board meeting? Yes. A board meeting in which you are making serious allegations against a sitting officer of this corporation? Yes. Everett leaned back. A small smile returned to his mouth. This is inappropriate, is it? Of course it is. This man has no standing here. He has no qualifications to be in this room. He has, Everett, frankly, Adeline. If this is the kind of judgment you're exercising these days, it raises questions about your own fitness, Everett. His head turned. Because the voice that had said his name the 3rd time was not Adeline's. Thomas was walking toward the table. He did not look angry, he looked calm. Which was worse? He stopped at the end of the table. He reached into the inside pocket of his flannel shirt. He pulled out a small folded piece of paper. He put it on the table. He slid it down to Everett. Everett looked at it. He did not pick it up. What is this? Open it. Everett opened it. It was a photograph, an old one, faded, 2 boys, one about 12, one about 9. The younger one was pale, hooked up to an IV, sitting in a hospital bed. The older boy was standing next to him holding a baseball. Both grinning, Everett looked up. What is this? That's my brother Jacob, and that's me. 13 years ago, Thomas did not raise his voice. The man who paid for that surgery was named Daniel Whitmore. I never met him. My mother found out 6 years ago. She wrote it in a letter and sent it to me. I put the letter in a drawer. Jacob is 22 now, senior year of state college. Because a man Adeline was married to wrote a check for a boy he'd never met. Thomas looked at Adeline, then back at Everett. So I'm in this room because of a debt. I'm in this room because Adeline Whitmore is his widow. And I am here to make sure that when she says the things she came here to say, the room hears her with the seriousness she is due. And because you just tried to use me to discredit her, Thomas took a step closer. You will never use me that way again. He walked back to the wall. He leaned against it. He did not speak again. The room sat for a moment. And then the woman at the end of the table, Linda Mahoney, an independent board member who had joined the company 7 years ago, cleared her throat. I move for immediate suspension of Mr. Langford, pending a full external audit. Second. The vote was 11-1. Everett's own vote was the one. Security escorted him out of the building at 10:15. The FBI was contacted by Linda Mahoney at 10:47. The criminal case would take 9 months to assemble. The indictment would include securities fraud, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. It would not include homicide. The overpass accident would remain officially what it had always been: a man driving too fast at 2 in the morning on a curve he had driven 1,000 times. A tragedy, but Everett Langford would serve 16 years in federal prison. And Adeline Whitmore would never again walk through her own building at 6 in the morning and wonder if she was imagining things. She walked out of the conference room at 10:20. Thomas was standing in the hallway. She stopped in front of him. She did not say anything for a long moment. "You didn't tell me about Jacob." "About Jacob? No. Why?" "Because I didn't want you to think I was here because I owed someone." "Are you here because you owe someone?" He looked at her. "No. Then why?" "I don't know yet." "That's a lousy answer. It's an honest one." She nodded. They stood in the hallway. People walked past they did not touch. They did not need to. She drove home alone at 11:45. She told Nora's nanny to take the rest of the day. She made grilled cheese for herself and Nora. Badly, too much butter. She burned one side. Nora ate it anyway. They sat at the kitchen counter, Nora's legs dangling off the stool. Adeline watched her daughter. Nora looked up, "Mommy." Adeline's throat closed. Nora had not called her mommy in 3 years. "Yeah, baby. You look tired." "I am tired." The bad tired or the good tired? Adeline thought about the question. Somewhere in between. Nora chewed her sandwich. "Mommy, yeah, can I sleep in your bed tonight?" "Of course. With my rabbit." "Both rabbits." Nora smiled. It was small. It was real. It was enough. After dinner, Adeline gave Nora a bath, washed her hair, dried it with a towel, put her in clean pajamas, sat on the edge of Nora's bed with a picture book between them. She did not open the book. "Nora, yeah, I want to tell you something, and I want you to know you don't have to say anything back. You can just listen." Nora nodded. "The night Daddy left, that night 3 years ago, Mommy was scared. Mommy was so scared. And Mommy got angry because she was scared. And Mommy said things she didn't mean." Nora's eyes went wide. "And then something bad happened. Something that was not your fault and was not Mommy's fault. Not really. It was something that someone else did. A bad man. And he's going to be punished for it. I promise you, baby, he is not going to get to do bad things anymore." Nora's lip trembled. "But I want you to hear this, sweetheart. Your voice has never, not one time, been the thing that made Mommy mad. Not one single time. Your voice is the most beautiful sound in the world. Your voice is the best thing that ever came out of anyone I have ever known. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let you think it was dangerous to talk. I'm sorry I let you be afraid of your own voice. I'm sorry it took me 3 years to say this." Nora began to cry, not loudly, just small shaking in her shoulders. Adeline did not try to stop it. She did not try to smooth it out. She just opened her arms and Nora climbed into them and pressed her face against her mother's chest and sobbed. After a long time, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour, Adeline had lost track. Nora lifted her head. Her eyes were red and her nose was running, and her braid had come completely apart. She looked at her mother. She said, in a voice that was small but entirely there, "Mommy, yeah, baby. Don't be mad if I talk." Adeline broke. She broke the way a dam breaks. She held Nora's face in both hands and she cried and she laughed and she said, through the entire wreckage of everything she had held back for 3 years, "Baby, oh baby, you talk as much as you want. You talk every day. You talk every minute. You tell me every single thing, every thought, every question, everything. Okay, Mommy. Yeah, I missed you." Adeline held her daughter so tight she was afraid she would bruise her. "I missed you too, baby. I missed you too." 3 weeks later, on the first Friday in December, Thomas was in the courtyard of the Hillside Center, replacing the last selection of chain on the swing set. He had told himself for a month that he would finish this job. And today, finally, he was finishing it. The sun was low. The air was cold. His breath made small clouds. Lily was across the yard helping one of the staff carry plastic chairs inside. Adeline and Nora came through the garden door at 3:58. Adeline was carrying 2 coffees from the second-floor machine. She had not stopped bringing him terrible coffee. It had become something of a joke between them. She stopped near the bench. She was still wearing her work coat. Her hair in a low ponytail. She looked different. Not happier exactly. Lighter. Like something had come out of her that had been weighing her down. Nora was not holding her hand. Nora was walking on her own. And Nora walked straight across the courtyard, past her mother, past Lily, straight to Thomas. She stopped 2 feet from him. She watched him work for a moment. Then she turned and looked back at her mother. And then, in a voice clearer than it had ever been, she said, "Mommy, can he stay?" Adeline stopped walking. The 2 coffees in her hands were suddenly very difficult to hold. She looked at her daughter. She looked at Thomas. She set the coffees down on the bench. Slowly, she walked across the paving stones. She knelt down in front of Nora, and she said, her own voice barely a voice at all, "I think that's his choice, sweetheart, not mine." Nora turned back to Thomas. She waited. Thomas had stopped working. He'd set the wrench down. He was on one knee. He looked at Nora. Then he looked at Lily, who had materialized at some point from the other side of the yard, and was now standing with her arms crossed. "Lil, yeah, Dad. What do you think?" Lily thought about it with the enormous gravity of a 7-year-old, being consulted on something important. "I think Gerald the Caterpillar needs more people to argue about his name." Thomas almost laughed. He did not laugh, because this was not a moment for laughing. He reached into the inside pocket of his flannel shirt. He pulled something out, a small thing, metal, tarnished, his old police badge. He had not shown it to a single human being in 8 years. He held it in his palm. He looked at Nora. "Nora, this used to mean my job was to help people. I left that job a long time ago, but I kept this, because sometimes you can't fix what's broken for somebody. Sometimes the best you can do is stay with them while they figure it out." He held it out. "I don't fix people, Nora, but I'll stay." Nora looked at the badge. She looked up at Thomas. She looked at her mother. Then she did something none of them expected. She walked back to Adeline. She put the badge in Adeline's hand. "You hold it, Mommy." Adeline closed her fingers around the badge. Her hand was shaking. Nora looked up at her. "Don't be mad if I talk, Mommy." Adeline pulled her daughter against her chest. Thomas stood up. Slowly, he walked over to them. He did not touch either of them. He just stood there. Adeline looked up at him. He offered her his hand. She took it, and she stood up, with the badge in one hand and Nora's hand in the other. Lily came over and wordlessly took Nora's other hand. The 4 of them stood there in the courtyard, in the last of the golden light. Nothing was resolved. Not the way things are in stories. There would be a trial. There would be press. There would be days when Nora did not want to talk. There would be days when Adeline did not know what to say. There would be Sunday mornings when Thomas would drive home from their house, with flour on his shirt, and not know yet what he was to them. There would be slow work ahead. But Nora was holding his hand, and Adeline was holding his other, and Lily was holding Nora's. And the swing set chain was finally done. Some men run toward trouble. Some men run from it, the rarest kind. They stay. They just stay.